Warning: this video contains super awesome content not suitable for people who don't enjoy super awesomeness.
Hello movie lovers and movie fans all across the world. Welcome back to the channel with me, actor, writer, and director, Kenny K. And welcome to another top 10 video on the playlist, this time featuring the top 10 cigar scenes in movies and TV. Now there's been a few times in my videos where I've mentioned what a cigar aficionado I am and how much I enjoy one every now and then myself. So since I love movies so much and I like cigars, I figured why not make a video showcasing what I think of when I think of cigar scenes on films and TV. Just the scenes I think about when I like to kick back with my San Cristobal Quintessence, one of my favorite cigars. But before we begin the list, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell down below because I've already thought of a few more cigar scenes that you don't want to miss out on for a future video. So with that being said, let's dive into our first scene.
1.
Now the very first thing I do before I smoke my cigar is cut it. And I do so by using a cigar cutter, being very careful not to remove too much off of the cap. So I wanted to start off with a movie that shows you how not to use one of these. And that movie is Darkman, released in 1990, directed by Sam Raimi and starring Liam Neeson. And in this tale of more of a dark heroic figure, a scientist becomes a master of disguise out for revenge after suffering a tragic fate from the city's worst criminals. And we see the movie's antagonist, Robert Durant, played by actor Larry Drake, torture a rival mob leader by cutting off something that's not a cigar.
3. I've got 7 more points.
Now granted, this scene is a great way to introduce your bad guy in the beginning. It's not exactly quite possible to cut off someone's finger with most cigar cutters. Even if the blades were sharp and dense enough, someone would have to have quite the hand strength to squeeze it hard enough to get through the bone. And even if you were able to cut off 1 or 2 digits, the blades would be done for and finished before you could get to all 5. Remember, this was made to cut leaves as thin as paper, not human flesh. But of course, this doesn't mean you guys go ahead and test that theory out for yourselves. Alright, so we've discussed what to do and certainly what not to do when cutting your cigar. But how about lighting your cigar the proper way?
Get out of here, Blue. Let me put this to you as delicately as I can.
Okay, so now that our cigar is cut, it's time to give it a good light and fire away. Now, one would think any source of flame would do, so one of the most common ways to light up anything you're going to smoke would be a Zippo lighter, right? However, this is actually the #1 method on how not to light a cigar specifically. If you're going to use a lighter, you want to use something with butane gas, but whatever you do, no lighter fluid.
What are you doing? Come on. You never light a cigar that way.
Or something like a torch lighter here would be good, as the fumes are odorless. And you won't introduce any bad tasting paraffins that are going to affect the flavor of the cigar that you're going to smoke. Or you can light your cigars the good old fashioned way, like in this next clip from the 2004 Hellboy movie starring Ron Perlman, directed by Guillermo del Toro.
You use a wooden match. Preserves the flavor, you see?
And now folks, you know the correct way to light a cigar. But in this next clip, I want to show you another reason why it's good to keep lighter fluid away from your smoke.
Excuse me.
So at number 3, this scene is actually from a movie that I watched quite recently for the first time, which of course is Cape Fear, released in 1991, directed by the great Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro and Nick Nolte. And you can find my reaction to this film in the playlist on the channel. So Cape Fear tells the story of Max Cady, who is out for revenge against Sam Bowen, a lawyer who's responsible for his 14-year incarceration. And when it comes to Max, his only vice happens to be these little old cigars. So by the end of the movie, Max has Sam's family hostage, and it seems like all is not going well for the wife and daughter, until Juliette Lewis's character Danny does this. Like I said, don't use lighter fluid for your cigars, man. But if you're gonna use cigars and fire in a lethal way like that, this next film provides a good exception. At number 4, let's talk about one of the most over-the-top but nonetheless badass cigar scenes on film. And that's from Roger Moore's first appearance as James Bond in the 1973 film Live and Let Die, directed by Guy Hamilton. In this scene, Bond is in his Caribbean hotel when the bad guys release a deadly snake into the bathroom he's currently freshening up in. But of course, as we all know, it's going to take more than a snake to kill 007, especially with a cigar in one hand and a can of aftershave in the other. Now, some people over time have remembered Roger Moore's performance as Bond as the comedic Bond and maybe a little too funny. But if you want a comedic scene with cigars, I'd say check out something classic like these comedians.
Here, try one of these.
Yeah, it's no good.
So at number 6, my dad and grandfather, rest their souls, would be spinning in their graves if I did not include a scene from the comedic geniuses of the Marx Brothers. In this classic oddball comedy film titled Duck Soup, released in 1933, directed by Leo McCarey, where Chico and Harpo Marx play spies, and when they report to their boss's office, that's when the insanity ensues.
Here, have a cigar. That's a good quarter cigar. I smoked the other 3 quarters myself.
And remember when I said to use a torch lighter to light your cigars?
That's the good, all right. That's the fine. That's the good.
See? This guy gets it. And I couldn't possibly talk about the Marx Brothers without giving a shout out to my good friend Paulie, the only other friend I have that shares my appreciation for these classic comedies that no one in my generation even knows exist. Okay, Paulie, there's your shout out. Now share this channel with your friends and family to get me more subs. A lack of support for your friends is not healthy.
This is not healthy. The smoking is not healthy.
So given that July 4th is next week, and no doubt a lot of you will be smoking some of these cigars, how can I not bring up the 1996 film Independence Day, directed by Roland Emmerich, starring Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum? Because of course, one of the best times to have a cigar is after you kick the crap out of some space alien's ass, right?
That's what I call a close encounter.
And by the looks of it, I'm 90% sure those are Romeo and Julieta cigars used in this action alien sci-fi movie where Captain Hiller and David Livingston must plant a bomb in the alien mothership in order to save the world. But not before they discuss plans on how to celebrate their win with a couple of cigars.
Not until the fat lady sings.
Oh, yes, okay.
This is important.
Fat lady.
But of course, as we all know, Captain Hiller and David get the job done as they walk off in victory at the end with a couple of cigars in hand. Now speaking of bosses that smoke cigars, I think a lot of you would like this next clip. So at number 7, we have one of the best TV characters of all time. And of course, I'm talking about the great James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano. I mean, cigars and mobsters on screen just go together so well. But one episode of The Sopranos in particular that I want to bring up is from Season 2, Episode 6, titled The Happy Wanderer. And in this scene, we see Tony Soprano reading Richie Aprile, The Riot Act.
What? Back off and respect the title, you fucking jerk off.
With no regard for the fact that he's smoking in a funeral home.
I don't think you can smoke in here. Who's gonna complain? Huh? Him? You don't mind.
And there's just something about a cigar that just gives you a more dominating presence and reminding you of just who makes the rules.
No, I don't make them. They've always been there.
But if there were ever another character that smokes these things in an inappropriate place, I think I know just the guy.
I'll have a beer.
Ah yes, the cigar-chomping X-Man at number 8, aka Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman. The animal-like mutant with the adamantium bones. Now I particularly like this scene from the 2003 X-Men 2 film where Professor X strongly disapproves of Logan smoking in Cerebro.
Continue smoking that in here, and you'll spend the rest of your days under the belief that you're a 6-year-old girl.
You do that?
I'd have Jean braid your hair.
Now, as awesome as Wolverine is, seeing him in braids would be funny. But I also love how he's able to put out his cigar in his hand thanks to his healing factor. And don't try that at home, folks, unless you have regenerative healing capabilities yourself. As a matter of fact, Don't ever snuff your cigar out at all, even when you're finished with it. And before I even tell you why, here's another reason.
I smoke my stogie anywhere I want. I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
Now, if you're not a fan of smoking cigars, are you really a fan of big, tough, macho action heroes? I mean, come on, if there's one Hollywood action star that comes to mind who you almost can't imagine without a cigar, it's good old Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they don't come any tougher than him. But at number 9, this one scene when I think of Arnold and cigars is the 1991 film Terminator 2: Judgment Day, directed by James Cameron. And of course, he isn't smoking one himself, but rather taking one to be snubbed out on his chest and not even flinching. Well, if there's one way not to put out a cigar, you definitely don't do it on a killer cyborg from the future. So when you've decided when you're finished with your cigar, just leave it on the ashtray and it will go out on its own. But of course, I'm not done with mine yet. There's plenty left. I just wanted to show you guys. But that now brings us to our last scene on my list. And it's a surprise for a special occasion that I've been saving.
Cigars.
So cigars are seen as that type of symbol for friendship and peace offerings, symbolizing good conversation and celebration with the right people. And I'm lucky enough myself to have a few friends that I can sit around and enjoy a good cigar with. But in another classic comedy, this time from the 1974 film Young Frankenstein, directed by the genius Mel Brooks, late actors Peter Boyle and Gene Hackman share one of the funniest cigar scenes on film, as the monster stumbles into the cottage of the old blind hermit who just wants a companion to help pass the few short hours of his lonely life. And if there was ever another way to tell you guys how not to light your cigar, it would be from a candle, and certainly not from an old blind man.
Now, just hold it right there. Now.
I first saw this movie when I was a kid, and even to this day, when I watch that scene, I die laughing each time.
Where are you going? I was going to make espresso.
Now, funny enough, about that scene, Gene Hackman's line about making espresso was actually ad-libbed. And the scene quickly fades to black because the crew and Mel Brooks couldn't keep it together from laughing so hard. As a matter of fact, they found that improv scene to be so funny, they couldn't do another take because they would just end up cracking up all over again. So that means that the footage you see in the film is the first and only take that exists. Well, folks, that's going to be my top 10 list of cigar scenes in movies and TV, and that's going to be a wrap on this video. I hope you all enjoyed the content, and as a fellow cigar aficionado, I urge you all to comment below, tell me if you agree with any of these scenes, what's your favorite cigar scene in a movie, was there a scene I should have included, and maybe I might just put it in the next top 10 cigar video. Tell me what your favorite cigar is to smoke, and be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell, but only if you're good looking. Visit the Patreon link in the description below, and vote for free on the poll to help decide what I watch and react to next for the first time. If you enjoyed the clips of my paintings in the back, you can check out more in the social media links down below. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I think I'm gonna go make some espresso.